Pope Francis's sister speaks out on Luis Antonio Tagle, and immediately all eyes turn to who might carry Pope Francis's vision forward. Enter Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. Dubbed the Asian Francis, Tagle has long been viewed not just as a papal candidate but as a continuation of Francis's heart. His compassion, humility, and outreach to the margins mirror everything Francis stood for. He's a theologian with a smile, a shepherd with a song, and a communicator who connects with both the powerful and the poor. The life of Maria Elena Bergoglio, sister to Pope Francis, is not about fame but about fierce love, quiet strength, and an iron will that reflects the very soul of a family tested by grief, held together by grace. A family woven with faith and struggle. The Bergoglio family wasn't famous when Maria Elena was born. They were simply Argentine, simple, hard-working, and full of heart. Their father, Mario José Bergoglio, a man with calloused hands and a quiet soul, worked on the railways, while their mother, Regina Maria Civi, held the household together with unshakable faith. They weren't rich in money but rich in love. And in a home like that, children learn quickly what really matters. Maria Elena was the youngest of 5 siblings. The oldest, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, would one day become Pope Francis. But to Maria Elena, he was just the big brother who protected her when the world got hard. The others were Alberto Horacio, Marta Regina, and Oscar Adrian, each with their own dreams, now passed on, leaving Maria Elena the last keeper of their family's legacy. Losing a father, gaining a protector. When their father died, Maria Elena was still just a child. And while most children crumble under that kind of loss, she had something many don't. Jorge Mario stepped up not just as a brother but as a guide, a mentor, and a second father. He taught her to dance the tango, to laugh through pain, to hold her head high even when her heart was low. Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I really appreciate it if you would subscribe and help me out. He was her anchor, and when he left for Rome, a piece of her went with him. But even the Vatican couldn't break their bond. Despite becoming Pope, Jorge never forgot who he was or where he came from. He called her regularly. Just Maria Elena, no fanfare, no need, because real love doesn't need titles. When Jorge was chosen as Pope Francis in 2013, the world cheered. But Maria Elena, she wept. Not because she wasn't proud, but because she knew what it meant: distance, burden, responsibility. And in a moment of raw honesty, she prayed he wouldn't be chosen. It was selfish, she admitted later, but I was afraid I was losing my brother to the world. Can you blame her? Imagine the ache of watching someone you love become everyone else's. It's a feeling many can relate to, watching family drift away because life pulled them in another direction. But Maria Elena didn't let the bitterness take root. Instead, she stayed grounded, refused to attend his inauguration at his request, and chose instead to donate the travel money to charity. That's the kind of woman she is, quiet in the background, but with a heart that could move mountains. Even as the world obsessed over Pope Francis, Maria Elena chose to stay private in Argentina. No interviews for fame, no book deals, just honesty. When she did speak, it wasn't to build herself up, it was to show the world who her brother really was. Not just a pope, but a man who used to sweep floors and read her bedtime stories. She's called him tough enough to lead the church. She said he still has the same humor, the same stubborn streak. She doesn't sugarcoat, and people listen, because her words ring with the kind of authenticity that's rare in a world of curated personas. Mother. Fighter. Survivor. Maria Elena raised her own family with the same quiet strength she grew up with. Among her children is Cristina Bergoglio, a renowned artist in Madrid, carving her own name with a paintbrush rather than a crucifix. Another child, José Ignacio Bergoglio, has spoken about their family's legacy with a mix of pride and humility. But Maria Elena's story isn't just about being a sister or a mother, it's about being a survivor. In 2015, she was hospitalized, her health threatened. But she didn't crumble. She smiled. She fought. And when asked about it later, she didn't complain. Instead, she spoke of laughter through tears, of how humor kept them going when all else failed. She carries the memories of her siblings, the late Alberto, Marta, and Oscar, like sacred relics. Not to mourn, but to remind herself that even in death, love doesn't fade. Life in my family has known a lot of sadness, tears, and pain. But even in the most difficult times, we've experienced a smile and a laugh that could provide us with the energy we needed to find our way back. It's a quote that doesn't just describe her life, it defines it. It echoes the universal truth that even in the darkest tunnels, laughter is the first spark of light. And when it comes from someone who's lost more than most of us ever will, it hits different. It heals. While Pope Francis has reshaped the image of the Catholic Church with messages of compassion, simplicity, and reform, Maria Elena is the hidden pillar behind that mission. She lived those values first, not because the cameras were on, but because they were etched into her soul. She's not on magazine covers. She doesn't hold mass. But in her quiet way, she's reminded the world that humility isn't weakness, it's the greatest strength. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson her brother ever learned from her. If you've ever held your family together through grief, if you've ever watched a sibling soar while you stayed behind, if you've ever chosen silence, love over attention, love over envy, faith over fear, then Maria Elena's story is your story too. She is a mirror for the unsung heroes, the ones who don't chase the spotlight but keep the flame of love burning in the dark. Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I really appreciate it if you would subscribe and help me out. Vatican insiders and their predictions for the next pope. The death of Pope Francis has not only left a gaping hole in the heart of Catholicism, it's also thrown the Church into one of the most unpredictable papal elections in recent memory. And if you're someone who loves tradition but craves change, this moment might just speak to something deep inside you. Pope Francis changed everything. Over 80% of the 135 cardinal electors who will enter the Sistine Chapel in early May were appointed by him. That means his influence will loom large, but not in a linear or obvious way. Francis didn't stack the college with clones, he chose men from diverse theological backgrounds, cultures, and continents. What we're left with is a melting pot of ideas, desires, and spiritual outlooks, and that's what makes this conclave so hard to call. Vatican insiders, from seasoned reporters to retired diplomats, agree the 2025 conclave is a spiritual and political wild card. There is no clear frontrunner, no consensus candidate. Just a global church searching for a shepherd in a time of profound uncertainty. What are the cardinals actually looking for? It's not about charisma or age. This isn't a job interview, it's a sacred discernment. But make no mistake, the cardinals are scanning for qualities that matter in today's chaotic world. Reformist spirit or traditional grounding, will the next pope continue Francis's reforms or pull the church back toward its pre-Francis identity? Administrative strength, can the new leader manage Vatican bureaucracy while healing global wounds? Pastoral heart, can he cry with the people, walk in the mud, and radiate empathy? Global perspective, can he be a pope for the whole world, not just Rome? Those are the metrics. Those are the stakes. And behind closed doors, every whisper and handshake is charged with those questions. Let's walk through the most talked about names, because while no one knows what will happen, these are the men who have Vatican watchers leaning forward. Pietro Parolin, Italy, 70, the Vatican's safe hands. He's the current Secretary of State, which basically makes him the Church's top diplomat. Calm, calculated, and incredibly experienced, Parolin is seen as a stabilizing force. He's a centrist who knows how to keep the Vatican engine running. Betting markets love him. AI algorithms love him. And many traditionalists quietly respect him. But here's the issue, Parolin's past involvement in the controversial China-Vatican deal has raised eyebrows. Plus, his lack of pastoral work makes some wonder if he's too much of a bureaucrat and not enough of a shepherd. Luis Antonio Tagle, Philippines, 67, the Asian Francis. If Francis had a spiritual son, it would be Tagle. Emotional, articulate, and deeply loved in the global south, he's a living embodiment of mercy and compassion, known for crying during sermons and hugging the homeless. Tagle could electrify a new generation of Catholics. He's also a symbol of the Church's shift away from Europe and toward Asia and Africa. In a world hungry for inclusion and justice, Tagle feels like a breath of divine air. But there are questions. After the Vatican's shake-up of Caritas Internationalis, which Tagle led, some insiders doubt his administrative grip. Matteo Zuppi, Italy, 69, the people's pastor. Zuppi is the quiet storm. He's not flashy, but he's beloved, known for working with marginalized groups and advocating for peace. Zuppi is a Francis loyalist who brings street-level spirituality to the red hat. He's also been instrumental in Italy's interfaith dialogue and refugee aid. Vatican insiders see him as a potential bridge builder. Weak spot? He doesn't have much Vatican political experience. In conclaves, that can make or break momentum. Peter Erd, Hungary, 72, the theological powerhouse. Erd is a canon law expert and conservative voice. He appeals to cardinals who feel Francis moved too fast. If the Church wants a reset, a return to order, Erd could be their man. But beware, his firm stance may alienate progressives and Global South voters who want more compassion and less control. Peter Turkson, Ghana, 76, the peacemaker. Turkson is a towering presence. He's worked on climate change, peace building, and economic justice. A powerful speaker and bridge builder, he could become the first African pope in over a millennium. But some insiders believe the odds are still stacked against an African pope, despite the symbolic power it would hold. Mark Ouellet, Canada, 80, the Vatican veteran. Ouellet is a conservative with pastoral charm. He's been around forever and knows the Curia like the back of his hand. But at 80, and after recent controversies, his window might be closed. Conclaves don't start with voting, they start with whispered conversations, late-night debates, and the subtle art of consensus building during the general congregations. That's where coalitions form. That's where front-runners fade and compromise candidates rise. Vatican insiders remind us, conclaves are not wars. They're negotiations soaked in prayer. And the most beloved candidate going in is often not the one who emerges. The cardinals may not be locked in camps, but they each carry desires for the Church's direction. The trick is finding someone who can unite, not just win. Betting markets. And the Pope prediction game. Yes, even algorithms are trying to decode the next Pope. AI tools crunch everything from public sentiment to historical patterns. Betting sites constantly update their odds based on insider chatter and global speculation. Right now, Poland tops many AI lists, but Tagle and Turkson aren't far behind. These models aren't magic, they can't read hearts, but they do show us where the global winds are blowing. And yet, even the smartest AI admits this is the world's most unpredictable election. What makes this moment so powerful isn't just the uncertainty, it's the possibility. For the first time in modern history, we could see a pope from Asia or Africa. We could see the Church take another bold step toward the margins, toward empathy, toward the people. If you've ever believed that faith should reflect the real world, that it should touch dirt, heal wounds, and listen instead of lecture, then your hopes are wrapped in this conclave. Because the next pope won't just lead a church. He'll shape hearts, drive policy, and carry the weight of souls across continents. We're not watching a power grab. We're witnessing a spiritual birth. As white smoke rises and the world strains to hear the name announced from the loggia, everything will change again. And whether it's Parolin, Tagle, Zuppi, Erd, or someone completely unexpected, you'll know this: the Church is still alive, still wrestling, still reaching. So don't just watch. Feel it. Own it. Pray for it. Because this is more than politics, it's prophecy in motion. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our channel.